Okay. So hello, everybody. Before we begin, I just want to give a thank you to our ASL interpreter, and I would like to direct everybody to the chat. I'm going to put a link for the captioning services if anyone needs them. Okay, Paul, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so hello, everybody. Welcome to SELF's presentation, Self-Advocacy at the Arizona State Legislature. I do realize there are some people that are attending this conference from out of state. There are some things that are specific to Arizona, but there are others that most of everything in this presentation can be used no matter what state you're in. So my name is Ryan Berry. I'm a lead advisor of the Self-Advocacy Group SELF. I graduated in political science, and for the past 5 years, I've been doing, some sort of legislative work. I will be a co-presenter alongside one of our members, Paul Benowitz. Do you want to give a quick introduction, Paul, as to who you are and what you do?
Paul, I'm a member of several groups, and I went last year to testify before the state legislature, and I'm going to be talking about some of the steps to help some of you go talk to the state legislature when you go to your legislative awareness day, if you get asked to testify.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. So yeah, today we're going to talk about what legislative advocacy is, why it is important, how the Arizona legislature works, and broadly how other legislatures work, and what self-advocates can do to get involved. So what is legislative advocacy? Paul, if you kind of want to tell everybody what legislative advocacy is?
When people work to change laws or policies that affect people's lives, it is a way for self-advocates to have a voice and make a difference.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. So why is legislative advocacy important? So legislative advocacy is important because legislation, like laws and policies, they affect people with disabilities' daily lives. And with or without certain laws, people with disabilities may face discrimination. So legislative advocacy gives us the power to change laws and therefore change people's lives. So how does our legislature work? Well, Arizona has two chambers, as other states do as well, a House and the Senate. In Arizona, we have 30 state districts, and each district has 2 representatives for the House and 1 senator for the Senate. Here's a picture on the left of Arizona divided up into its 30 districts. And here's a smaller picture on the right of Maricopa County divided up into its districts. But what is a district? A district is a specific area of land within a state, and there are 30 districts across Arizona, where state legislators make sure each district has representation. And how we get equal representation is by electing state legislators. And state legislators are the people we elect from each district to make laws. So each district elects 1 senator to the Senate, and each district elects 2 representatives to the House. And so the Arizona House of Representatives, and like it is in other states, it's considered the lower chamber of the Arizona State Legislature. And so there are 60 members of this chamber, made up of 2 representatives from all 30 districts. And the leader of this chamber is called the Speaker of the House. And they are elected by all House members. So this is a photo of the floor of the Arizona House of Representatives. And the floor of the House is where all members meet to talk about and vote on bills that pass through committee. And we'll talk more about committee later. Okay, so while the Arizona House of Representatives is the lower chamber, the Arizona State Senate is considered the upper chamber of the Arizona State Legislature. And there are 30 members of this chamber made up of 1 senator from all 30 districts. And the leader of this chamber is called the Senate president, and they are elected by all Senate members. So, and as the same in the House, this is the floor of the Arizona State Senate, and the floor of the Senate is also where all Senate members meet to talk about and vote on bills. So as you can see in this picture, the floor is much smaller because there are only 30 senators in the Senate, whereas there's 60 representatives in the House. And so that is one of the differences between the House and the Senate. The House has more members than the Senate. The House members are elected for 2 years, while the Senate members are elected for 4 years. And so the time when legislators make laws, this is called the legislative session in Arizona, as it is in other states. And the session in Arizona happens once every year. And so this session begins in January and lasts for about 100 days. So it ends around late April to early May. So right now, at the Arizona State Legislature, they're now just sort of wrapping up voting on all the bills. And so that brings us to the process of how a bill becomes a law. So the beginning of the whole process of a bill becoming a law starts off with an idea. And these ideas happen between every session. So this takes place from around the summer. So, after it'll end this session, in the summer to January of next session, these ideas take place. And so these ideas can come from many places. They can come from citizens speaking to their members. They can come from lobbyists. They can come from government officials. They can come from many places. And so once a member has these ideas, for next session, they introduce these bills, and these ideas become bills either in the House or the Senate. And so a House or Senate member will give their ideas to someone called the chief clerk, and they turn that idea into a bill. So for example, a bill assigned a number, the bill is assigned a number and 2 letters, HB or SB. So if it started in the House, so if a House member introduces a bill, then it's HB. And if a Senate member introduces a bill, it's SB. So for example, our self-advocacy group, as well as others, are tracking a bill called SB 1411. And it's called SB 1411 because it started in the Senate. So it is a Senate bill. And it could be many different numbers. It could be 1411, it could be 1312. That's just how, legislators keep track of bills. So then is committee review. And this is where ideas usually first go after becoming a bill. And so the committee is made up of members from that chamber, and in committee is where testimony, like Paul said earlier, is heard from the public. It's either supporters for or people that are against the bill. So here is where bills are recommended that they pass without changes, with changes, or not at all. And so here's a photo of what a committee in the Arizona House of Representatives looks like. So this is the House Education Committee, and there are about 10 members that sit on this committee, and one of those members is the chairman or chairperson. However, the number of members sitting on each committee depends upon the type of committee and in which chamber it is in. So because this is in the House of Representatives and they have more members than they do in the Senate, this committee is going to have more people on it. And for instance, another committee like the Appropriations Committee. So appropriations is where the chamber makes decision about where money goes in the state. And so that's a really important job. And so for that committee, instead of having 10 members, they would have 14 members. So it depends on which type of committee you're on and where you will be testifying. And so again, committees are groups of legislators who work together to review bills and make recommendations to the full House or Senate. So and members of each committee are chosen by the leader of each chamber. So for example, in the House, the Speaker of the House would choose which members go to the Education Committee or which members go to the Health Committee. And for each committee, they choose a chairperson to lead that committee and decide which bills are heard. So amendments. Okay, so this is another important process of how bills become laws. So like I said, bills could be passed in these committees with changes, and that's exactly what an amendment is. Amendments are changes to a bill in its legislative process to become a law. So amendments can be introduced by any member of the House or Senate, either in committee or later on floor. And we'll talk about that in a second. But all amendments must be voted on something called cow, or during something called cow. And cow means committee of the whole. So kind of like in education committee or a health committee, they're members, like 10 or 14 members coming together to talk about a bill and vote on it. Committee of the whole means it's all the members coming together to talk about a bill. And so this happens before the final vote on a bill in that chamber. So during cow, all the members of the chamber, either in the House or the Senate, come together to talk about the bills. And here members can offer changes to the bill. And these changes are called floor amendments, because they all get together at floor. And so an amendment, which different than a final vote, amendments or changes to a bill are passed with something called a voice vote. So in chamber, if you're ever in the gallery or you're watching at home and it's during committee of the whole, you'll hear a bunch of members yell out yes, or a bunch of members yell out no. And it's sort of a weird part of the process, but it's how we decide to move forward with changes on a bill. And so third reading. So this is the final stage of a bill after committee of the whole in the House or the Senate. And third reading, just like committee of the whole, it takes place in both chambers. And members, before casting their vote, they can either speak for or against the bill. And a part of third reading is the final vote. And the vote is a roll call vote. So that means when each member is called, they either will say yes, no, or present. And so a majority of vote of yes is required for the bill to pass. So for example, if there are 60 members in the House of Representatives, then 30 or 31 members are required for each bill to pass. So it has to be a majority in the House or the Senate. And so here is a picture of the system that legislators use to vote on bills. So this is a black screen and it has the names of all the members who have voted. So when you are in the gallery, if you're watching floor, either online, sometimes some legislatures allow you to do that. At the Arizona State Legislature, you can. You'll notice that each legislator has a button at their desk, and on the button, you won't be able to see this, but on the button, it'll say either yes or no. And so legislators, when a vote comes up for a bill, they hit the button to either vote yes if they like the bill, or they hit the button no if they do not like the bill. And so in this picture, there says 16 legislators have voted aye, so that means yes. 13 legislators have voted nay, which means no, and one member is not voting. And so when a member is considered not voting, that means they're either absent or neutral on the bill, meaning they don't really agree with the bill or disagree with the bill. They're sort of in the middle. And so once the bill passes in one chamber, so if it passes in the House or the Senate, it then goes to the other chamber. So if it started in the House and it passes the House, it goes to the Senate. And if it started in the Senate, it then goes to the House. And if the bill passes through both chambers, it is then sent to the governor. And the governor of the state is sort of like are president of all the states. That's where bills go. And then the governor, if they sign the bill, that bill then becomes a law. So enough talking for me. I'm going to go ahead and play a video on a bill that a lot of different self-advocacy groups have been tracking during this legislative session called SB 1411. I know that we have some self-advocates here who have spoken on the bill and are familiar with it. So I'm going to play this video, and afterwards I'm going to ask you a couple questions of things you might have noticed, some things that that we just talked about. So I'm gonna play this video, and we'll see what you notice. Let's see here.
You've heard the third reading of Senate Bill 1411. Those in favor of the measure vote aye. Those opposed vote no. So this is now open. The Senate will now proceed to vote. Try to get back on track. Senator Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Temp. I rise to explain my vote.
Please.
Thank you. I want to thank the sponsor of this bill for following through on the stakeholder meeting that was scheduled today. I know that there was good discussion in there and some commitments were made. And so for today, I'm going to vote no on this bill, pending those amendments that will be done in the House. And I hope that the work on this bill is going to be what it needs to be for the disability community, and I hope to be able to support it when it comes back from the House. With that, I vote no for today.
Senator Hernandez votes no. Senator Watzek.
Mr. President Pro Tem, I rise to explain my vote.
Please.
I today had a good stakeholders meeting with many of the disability community, from autism to cerebral palsy, most of which are parents, leaders of various different groups. We have decided to do some fine-tuning of the bill that will make everybody happy. We all left the room shaking hands and ready to move forward together. So I urge everybody to help me get this passed through, because it is imperative that we start having these types of conversations about our state agencies, and DDD is one of the most important state agencies that we have that requires pretty much an overhaul, I guess you could say. And the area of guardianship has been a very touchy issue for a lot of parents for a long time, and I listened to a lot of people today and heard their concerns with some of the language of my bill, and I have moved to make some of these changes so that we can make everybody feel comfortable moving forward. And with that, I vote aye.
Senator Watzek votes aye. Have you all voted? We've got two left here. So Senator Gonzalez, Atatli, Mendez, Mesnard, Sundaration, and Tehran. How do you vote? Senator Atatli.
Permission to explain my vote.
Please.
Thank you. So I have worked with youth for a number of years in various capacities. And so my concern regarding this bill is bypassing the court system and just outright taking kids without input. And so I think that's the area that I have a concern with. I was told earlier that that is one of the areas that may go through an editing process. And so I just wanted to go on record to make sure that I was advocating for those individuals that may end up in that type of scenarios. I'm going to vote no today, but I'm looking forward to further editing of this bill. Thank you. And I vote no.
Senator Totley votes no. Senators Tehran, Mendez, Gonzalez, how do you vote? System's now closed. Secretary record a vote by a vote of 16 ayes, 13 nays, 1 not voting. You've passed Senate Bill 1411. Sign in open session.
Okay. And I saw in the chat about the bar on the left side of the screen. So I have fixed that, hopefully. Okay, let me continue on here. Here we go. Okay, so this is a time where everybody can unmute because we're going to sort of talk about what we saw. So what are some things that you noticed from that video? So first I'm going to ask, who was for the bill? So we heard from a couple senators. There was Senator Wadsack, Senator Hatatli, and Senator Hernandez. So who among them was for the bill? And how could you tell? Yes, Riley.
I could tell by the way Watsack was being kind of oblivious to not really, she said she was listening, but she was just saying that to her own self-interest, not their interest. And we did speak with Hernandez just to understand for her how the system did not really advocate for her own kids and her own relatives, which we actually did tell. And we had a meeting set up for her, and that's how we actually listened to her input and our input and actually found common ground.
Yeah, that's very true. So yeah, Riley was, one of the main self-advocates who helped work on this bill, Senate Bill 1411. So the sponsor of this bill was Senator Wadsack, correct, Riley? She was the sponsor.
Yeah, she is. And said she was listening, but she's just looking out for herself.
Okay. Well, we'll leave the comments and opinions maybe till the end. But yeah, Senator Wadsack was for the bill. Do we notice any of the senators that were opposed to the bill, who were against the bill, from who spoke? Let's hear from somebody. You can go ahead and unmute. Who was against the bill? Okay, I'll look in the chat here. Okay, yeah, that's okay, Annette. That's okay. Paul, did you notice anybody that was against the bill? Who spoke?
Can't really remember who. I mean, I heard who it was. I think it was one of the other. I forget who it was. One of the other senators. I forget who it was that was speak.
Yeah, so that would be Senator Hatatli and Senator Hernandez. So that was during
Hatatli.
Yeah,
Hatatli. I'll go with her.
yeah. So Senator Hatatli was against the bill. Senator Hernandez was more neutral, meaning, but she did vote no during third reading. But
she said that she had some concern about other aspects of the bill, is what she had.
Yeah.
No, I noticed.
Yeah, she has some concern about other aspects of the bill. So that's an example of third reading. So first, when senators talk about their own bills, so in the case of Senator Wadsack, or other senators are for that bill, or in this case, Senator Hernandez and Senator Hatatli were against the bill. So did anybody notice what chamber this was in? What chamber was this video in? Is the House or the Senate? And how could you tell?
The Senate.
The Senate. Oh, Warren, how could you tell it was the Senate?
Just by
I can help with that.
Sure.
Okay.
This is Dawn. You had indicated that SB met Senate.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, that's where it is.
That's true. Well, thank you so much, Dawn. Yeah, so SB, means Senate bill, and so that's where it started. And another thing that you may have noticed is that the person that they were speaking to was the president, and that is the leader of the Senate. So if this bill started in the Senate and it passed the Senate, as we just saw, where would the bill go to next? Does anybody know?
The House.
Yes, Paul, it goes to the House. It goes to the House. And then after it goes to the House, then what happens to the bill? If it passes the House?
To Congress.
To the governor.
To the governor, that is correct.
And our governor is Katie Hobbs.
Oh.
Yes.
Yay!
But she, and I don't know if she's gonna want to pass it or not because, well, she is Democratic. That's her side, basically, knowing her.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing it up because that brings us to the next slide, which we're going to talk about what a veto is, a veto. And so the bill we just saw passed the Senate, and if it passes through the House, it will then go to the governor. And this is the last part of the process of a bill becoming a law. But if the governor, like in our case, Governor Katie Hobbs, if she does not sign the bill into law, it is called a veto. A veto. But here's the thing. The bill, after being vetoed, can then go back to the legislature, and the legislature can then make the bill into a law by a 2/3 vote in each chamber, so in the House or the Senate. So this usually happens when the House and the Senate are it's a majority of one party. So let's say House and the Senate are majority Democrat and the governor is Republican. So when there's a governor of a different party than the House or the Senate, that usually happens where the legislator can then make the bill into a law by a 2/3 vote. But 2/3 is quite a lot. So that usually does not happen. So again, here's a basic overview of Arizona's legislative process. And we will post this on SELF's website at thearcoftempe.org because I know this is a lot to remember. There's a lot of things to keep track of. So it also begins with a bill, it all begins with an idea. Then there's the introduction of a bill from one of the members of the House or the Senate. A committee then reviews the bill, and if it passes to committee, it goes to floor where all the members debate and vote on the bill. And then after that, if most members say yes to the bill then goes through the other chamber before going to the governor for approval. So that is the Arizona's legislative process, and it's the legislative process in all the states. All the states have committees, all the states have 2 chambers. So this isn't just for Arizona. Okay, so Paul, I'm going to turn it over to you on how self-advocates can get involved.
First thing, knowing the issues that are important to help, that can help you help your advocacy. It can also help you tell your needs and wants to others. Ask yourself these questions. What prevents me from achieving my goals? What changes would make my life better? The answer to both of these questions will be issues that you should focus on as a self-advocate. Talking to others also helps you know the issues you want to focus on. You should talk to your self-advocates and disability groups to learn about the issues. You should attend meetings and events where disability issues are discussed. You should also listen to other self-advocate stories. Is there anything in common? By focusing on issues you share with self-advocates, you can make your advocacy stronger. So think about the issues that may affect many self-advocates. What issues do self-advocates share? Transportation, employment, housing, healthcare abuse, education, and more. Research the issues. It also helps you to do research on the issues you have found. Learn about the issues around those issues. Also, and look for data that supports your advocacy. Supports your advocacy. Rank your issues. You may not be able to advocate for every issue that is important to you. Rank your issues of what is most important and focus on the most important issue first.
Okay, thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, thank you. So how to effectively advocate? How to effectively advocate? So setting your goals is important to know what you want to achieve. So you must always ask yourself, are your goals achievable? Because the legislative process is really slow and a lot of people have a lot of opinions, and sometimes you cannot always get what you want, which is a sad part of the process, but is true. So you must ask yourself, how do you want to make change? Do you want to change a specific law that you found when researching, or do you just want to increase awareness on an issue in general? So you must always first set a plan before advocating. And so after setting a plan and finding your goals, building a coalition is also necessary to be an effective advocate. And this is something that many of our presenters at the beginning of the conference talked about, is asking others who feel the same way as you if they want to join you in your advocacy. So attend advocacy meetings and events to connect with others and share why this issue is important to you. And so to be effective in getting what you want, you must find who can help you. So find out who has the power to make the change you want to see. So this might be your state legislator. This could be your city council member, your mayor, governor, or others. And some of the other cases, it was other groups or organizations like the dollar store or the Chamber of Commerce. There's many different people who can help you. Okay. And one way to find out who represents you in the legislature is by going to openstates.org. And openstates.org is a free resource to increase accessibility for the public to interact with their government. So this is a valuable tool for people trying to advocate legislative change. And so I'm going to bring that up real quick in another tab here. Let's bring that up. So you can go to openstates.org directly, or you can go to the arcoftempe.org website and look for the link that says find your legislator. So that's going to be under self, legislative priorities. We want to scroll all the way down to the bottom, click find your legislator, and that brings you to this site here. So here, when you go to openstates.org, you can put in your address. So I'm going to quickly put in my zip code here, 85781. It might take a second, and here we go. So as you can see, at the state level, it shows my representatives. And how I know they're my representatives is it because over here in the corner, it says lower chamber, this right here in blue. And the lower chamber is the House of Representatives, and the upper chamber is the Senate. So my representatives are Representative Salmon, Representative Hernandez, and then for my senator is Senator Mendez. And it also, if you notice, it gives you your federal representatives. So for Arizona, it's Senator Sinema, Senator Kelly is our other senator, and then in Arizona, for Congressional District 4, my congressman is Representative Greg Stanton. But today we're going to focus on the state. So let's say I want to send Senator Mendez an email about the accessibility of transportation in Arizona. So I'm going to click on his name here, and it will take me to his profile. So this is his email at jmendez@azleg.gov. Here's a link to the Arizona State Legislature website. It even gives you the location of his office if you want to meet him in person, and it gives his phone number. It also gives many of the bills that he has sponsored or the bills that ideas that he has turned into bills. That's what sponsoring a bill means. And it also gives you his recent votes at the state legislature. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with openstates.org. Another thing that you can do is on the homepage here, you not only can select Arizona, but you can select Arkansas, you can select California, you can select any of the 50 states. But for this presentation, I'm going to select Arizona, and it will tell you how many representatives are in your state. So 60 representatives in the House, 30 Republicans and 30 Democrats, 30 senators in the Arizona State Senate. That's 16 Republicans and 14 Democrats. And you can even follow bills, and they'll send you updates on the bills to your email. So this is a really great resource that I wanted to show you guys. Okay, let's go back to the presentation here. Okay. So again, you can contact your legislator by email, phone, or mail, and choose whatever method is most accessible to you. And if you need help, do not hesitate to reach out to us. You can reach me at ryan@tempearc.org or other disability advocacy groups. So now, before contacting your legislature or your legislator, you must prepare what you want to say. And this was something that I think Kevin spoke about earlier in the conference. So it is important, if you are in your legislator's district, that you tell them that you are their constituent, which means that you're in their district. So if you put in your address and it comes up with your senator, for example, Senator Mendez, you want to let that senator know that you are in their district, because legislators will often listen to their constituents over others because you are the ones that vote them into office. And so you must also make sure your message is short and clear, because state legislators are very busy people and they get a lot of messages and they have a lot of meetings every day. So make sure what you want to say is short and it gets your message across. And as always, for anything that you want to succeed at, practice. Practicing what you want to say will help you feel more comfortable if you speak to your legislator in person or over the phone. And I always say it's the 4 Ps. It's practice prevents poor performance. That's what I always like to tell myself. So practice, practice, practice. It'll help you get better. Okay, so craft your message. So this is something that is also available on our website at thearcoftempe.org. This is a template to craft your message to your representative. Now, this could work on an email or a letter, and you could even use this as notes in a meeting with your legislator. So here are some things you should do. So address your legislator according to whether they are your senator or representative. So for example, if I wrote a letter to Senator Juan Mendez, I would address the letter, "Dear Senator Mendez." Then introduce yourself and tell them where you live in Arizona or whatever state you're in. If you are their constituent, make sure to let them know that you are also in their district. So then introduce the issue you want to address with them. For example, if I needed more accessible transportation in Arizona, I would tell them that. Yeah. And explain to them the issue and tell them why it's important to you. This is very important. Tell them why the issue is important to you. And you can even tell personal stories or experiences which will help make the message better. So I think, like Kevin said at the beginning of the conference, everybody's human. And so when you relate to a senator or a representative on a personal level and tell them something that happened to you or how the issue affects you, it makes a better message. So then tell your legislator what you would like them to do. So if you want them to say yes to a certain bill, ask them to vote yes. And if you want them to say no to a certain bill, tell them to vote no. And then tell them how their action will help you. Tell them by saying, if you vote yes to this bill, it will do this. It will make transportation more accessible in Arizona. It will provide more housing to people with disabilities. Let them know what the outcome of their action will be. And as always, make sure to thank them for taking the time to either read or listen to what you have to say. That is also a very important thing. Manners can go a long way. So now I know that is a lot to remember, but this template will be on the Arc of Tempe's website under the Self tab. So do not hesitate to use it if you need it. And you can also email me as well. And so another important part of the process is follow up. Following up is important because it shows that you are paying attention to what the legislator is doing and how they are voting. Especially at the state level, not enough people pay attention to who's voting on what. So follow up and let them know that you saw their vote. And this also helps build a relationship with your legislator and can make them more likely to listen to you in the future. So if there's another bill in a different session you want them to vote a certain way on, if they already are familiar with who you are, they're more likely to listen to you. Now, again, there are many ways to follow up. You can give your legislator a phone call or leave them a message by calling your legislator's office. You can email your legislator and remind them of your advocacy on a particular bill or issue. And you can always follow or contact your legislators on social media because many officials, elected officials, either have a Twitter or a Facebook that you can follow. Okay, so now probably this is the most important part of the presentation. The most important part of advocacy is to stay engaged and take action because sometimes weeks can go by without anything happening with a particular bill. So it is always best to follow up and continue to take an active role in the legislative process because you could wake up one day and check how the bill's doing and it's already passed through committee. So make sure to stay engaged and take action. And you can do that by contacting your legislators, using the RTS system, and we'll talk about that in a second. Testify in committee meetings, like Paul has done and many self-advocates. Follow your legislators on social media, or like Paul said, go to advocacy days at the Arizona State Legislature. That way you can meet with your legislators in person. So the last slide, I mentioned the RTS or request to speak system at the Arizona State Legislature. And this allows you to give your opinions on bills by either leaving a comment or signing up to speak in committee. Well, let me check the chat real quick. Okay. And so this next slide here, this is going to be a quick tutorial on how to use Arizona's request to speak system. And for those who are out of state, I apologize for not having a tutorial on how to use your system. But this is a quick tutorial for self-advocates on how to use the request to speak system.
Hello everybody, my name is Ryan. I'm the lead advisor for SELF, and today I'm going to show you how to use the RTS request to speak system at the Arizona State Legislature. First, you're going to want to go to azleg.gov, and on the home page, you're going to want to go to legislative information. You're going to click on request to speak. After that, you're going to come to a page on upcoming agendas for the first regular session of the 56th legislature. But you're going to want to go up to the right and click on Sign On. Afterwards, you're going to want to go to Create an Account, put in your email, password, and your first and last name, and click the Create Account button. However, before you can submit an opinion or request to speak in a committee using the RTS system, you must first use the kiosks that are located outside the legislative committee rooms on the first floor of either the House of Representatives or the Senate buildings at 1700 West Washington, Phoenix. There is also a kiosk located in downtown Tucson at 400 West Congress Street, 201. You will only need to go to the Capitol once, and a person may go on your behalf to sign into your account. Once at the Capitol, either go to the Senate lobby or outside the committee rooms at the House to use a kiosk. Once at a kiosk, go to the top right-hand corner and click Sign On. Put in your email and password, and then you may submit an opinion or request to speak on a bill. After signing on to an in-person kiosk, you can now use the Request to Speak system at home. After logging into your account, this is the page that you will see. You will have two options: either the Request to Speak system, which will allow you to submit an opinion or testify in a committee where a bill is being heard, or the Bill Status Inquiry, which is a tool that allows individuals to check the status of a bill in the Arizona State Legislature. It can be used to find out where a bill is in the legislative process, such as which committee it has been assigned to, whether it has been approved or rejected, and when it is scheduled for a vote. For now, let's look at the Request to Speak system. This is the home page of the Request to Speak system. It shows your current requests and bill positions. Over to the right, you can either update or delete your current bill position. But before we look at that, let's make a new request. By clicking New Request, it will take you to Request to Speak topic search. Here, you can search for committees or upcoming agendas where your bill might be heard. Let's find an active agenda. You can go to Committee, find the committee where your bill might be heard, click Search, and then add a request. Here we chose Director Nominations. Once you click on New Request, it will bring you to this page, where it will ask you your position on the item. You can select For, Neutral, or Against the bill, or in this case, a director nomination. It will then ask you if you wish to speak. If you will be present in committee and you wish to speak, select Yes. If you will not be present in committee and you do not wish to speak, select No. And if you will be present in committee and you only want to speak if it is necessary, select If necessary. You also may leave a comment about your position on the bill. Once you are done filling out your position, click the Submit button. By clicking Submit, it will show you your position on the My Requests page. Here, you can update or delete your request. Let's update our request by clicking on Update. Here, you can edit your position on the item, whether you wish to speak, or your comment. Keep in mind that your comment will be read by state legislators. If you have a disability, you may request an accommodation by contacting the Senate Secretary's Office at 602-926-4231. Thank you so much, and good luck advocating.
Thank you, Riley, for the clapping. I appreciate it. So here's something that I did not mention in the video, but is important. So I know for many people, it's very hard to get down to the Capitol and use one of the kiosks. And this is something that a lot of people don't know. So hush, hush, a little bit of a secret. You can contact the representative in your district, and you can ask their assistant to sign into the Request to Speak system for you. And so a lot of people tell you, no, you have to go down there in person, but actually you can ask the representative in your district to help you. And after that, you can leave comments or you can request to speak from home. And so you don't need to go in person. So now our co-presenter, Paul Benowitz, has taken action and he has testified in committee. So we're going to play you another short clip before we bring it over to Paul, before he tells you his experience testifying and some tips on how to speak with legislators.
Hello, Mr. Benowitz.
Hello, first time here, and so I'm here on behalf of I'm on the Athlete Input Council. I'm also a certified health messenger, which is also to teach other athletes how to a healthy lifestyle and how to take care of themselves. And also we do the health screening at the competitions, and we also do the dental. We also have athletes that do dental screening with athletes that don't have the time to go to get insurance to see their doctors, and so, and they also provide free physicals for athletes that can't go see their primary care physicians.
Great. Good job.
It makes all the athletes feel great that they can get the services. I'm also doing Lead the Field, which I'm working with with a student from the Mayo Clinic on better health care and what the needs are for our athletes.
Great. You did a great job. Thank you so much for coming in and talking with us today. We appreciate that.
Kathy Bowen?
So that was Paul's testimony, and it ended up passing with a unanimous vote, meaning all the representatives in that committee helped pass the bill, which is a very rare thing to happen. It doesn't usually happen. So, good job, Paul. That was great. So Paul, before we get into the tips here, do you want to quickly tell everybody how you came about speaking on a bill and what that experience was like?
Yes, I would. What happened was this was in the last legislature the video was shown. And so what happened was, when we talked about the Legislative Awareness Day or Capitol Hill Day, I went to the Capitol Hill Day last year, and two of the staff, Megan and Jamie, asked if I wanted to present before this committee that was talked about, because it was a funding bill to help support the health programs for Special Olympics Arizona. And that's basically what I had went there for, because it had died before and it came back because they wanted it to be for funding for the health programs.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. And so Paul came up with some tips on testifying committee. So Paul, do you just kind of want to read off these tips or any others that you've thought about?
Understand the bill, know the committee rules, tell your story, say why you think the bill affects you, be respectful.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Okay. So lastly, do not be afraid to take action. So our advocacy group, SELF, and I know many others, are always tracking bills. And so if you want to get involved, do not hesitate to reach out to me at ryan@tempearc.org or another disability advocacy group. We can sign you up for our bill tracking newsletter, and even a little bit of action, just something as simple as emailing your legislator can go a really long way to helping a lot of people. So so let's get self-advocates equal opportunity to be represented at the legislature. So again, before we turn it over to questions, because I know we got like 5 minutes left, set your goals, build a coalition, find your legislators. You can use openstates.org or other places. Craft your message, always follow up, and do not be afraid to take action. Okay, and here are some resources for legislative advocacy. We got the Arizona Center for Disability Law, the Arizona Developmental Disability Planning Council, ARC of Arizona. Raising Special Kids has a great legislative list for bills that we should watch out for, Ability 360, and you can always email me at ryan@tempearc.org. And there probably are many other resources. These are just those in the state of Arizona, but if you need help finding them, you can always email me. I could try to find you a list in your state. Okay, any questions? We got 5 minutes left. Any questions for me or Paul? We got a question from Lynn. It was 10 minutes ago. Lynn, was this about just the whole presentation or which part? Oh, the video. So sorry, yes. This video is going to be on the Self YouTube channel, and you can find that through the arcoftempe.org. We have many different videos, how to vote in Arizona. We have a video, as you saw, on the request to speak system. We have videos from our self-advocacy group. So we have a lot of different resources that can help. So that's going to be available on the arcoftempe.org, or you can find us on YouTube. Any other questions for me and Paul about anything we talked about? I know there's a lot of different stuff. Also, this presentation will be recorded and will be put up on our YouTube channel as well. And I'm sure you can find it on George's website for the coalition, this video. Any questions? We got 16 people in here. Come on.
Riley had a question, Ryan.
Okay, Paul.
I have a question.
Sorry. Yeah, I can't see hands. Okay. Riley, you first.
There's actually 18 people that are participating. And what does a lobbyist mean? I never got a chance to ask that earlier.
That's a really good question. So a lobbyist is somebody that advocates for a particular issue, or it's their job. So there's self-advocates, so people with disabilities that advocate for themselves, and there's a lobbyist where they get paid money to advocate on a particular issue. And that could be with anything. You could pay a lobbyist to advocate for a disability issue. I'm just using this as an example. They talked about the dollar store earlier. The dollar store or Walmart or whoever could pay a lobbyist to ask legislators to vote a certain way on bills. And so that's what a lobbyist is. It's someone who gets paid to advocate.
That's interesting.
Yes.
I could maybe be with all my career someday.
Maybe.
Self-advocate. I could have that in my future career someday. Oh, and as for political science, I respect your career, Ryan Barry.
Oh, thank you.
I'm actually considering changing my major in college to sociology after having my meeting with my academic advisor.
Yeah, well, sociology it's political science is great, but sociology is also great. We need sociologists, we need political scientists. So yeah. Yeah,
because since I already did sociology and I got A's in all of them in my classes, I seem to tie in what ology means study of, and sociology study of society and people.
Yes, yeah, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Paul here for the next question. Paul, you have a question?
No, I don't have a question.
Oh, I thought you said you did. Sorry about that.
No, I just thought there was another question. I didn't see any.
Oh, let's see. Anybody else have any questions? Who's here from out of state? Is everybody in this breakout room from Arizona? You can let me know in the chat. Is anybody from, you can also tell me if you're from Arizona.
Arizona.
Awesome.
Arizona.
Warren is in Arizona.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Tucson.
Arizona.
Yeah. Awesome. So we got everybody's here from Arizona. Okay, so perfect. Okay, and Austin says they're from from Tucson. Okay, and that's another great part about the video we watched on the request to speak system is that there is a kiosk also in Tucson. So you don't have to drive all the way down to the Capitol. You can also email your legislator, but for whatever reason, you can also go to the kiosk in Tucson. So now I'm being told that they're shutting me down. It's going to close in 30 seconds. So thank you guys so much for attending the talk of me and Paul. We really appreciate it. And we will see you guys later for the self-advocacy presentation. Bye, everybody.
Bye.